what I find very fascinating now is today, Saturday, when we're recording this, we're on the second weekend of Marvel Studios' Ant-Man. And it's being reported that Ant-Man has had the largest drop in Marvel cinema, the MCU's history, Marvel Cinematic Universe's history, from weekend one to weekend two. And for a movie that grossed over $100 million its first weekend, it had up to a 72% drop in earnings, which is the biggest drop ever.
Massive
Now,
drop. Almost
massive
unheard
drop.
of for a studio film of that type.
Yes, absolutely. And what's interesting is I bear Jeff Loveness, the writer of that film, no ill will, but he'd never written a feature before. You know, he'd written television, he'd written a lot of animation like Rick and Morty, but this is his first feature. Now, I understand how, he could get the job, or maybe they thought that the science fiction on Rick and Morty, some of which is quite good, made him an ideal candidate to write this film. But I would postulate that he wasn't the right candidate to write this movie. And the proof is in the pudding. And of course, he's slated to write one of the next Avengers movies. So I would ask a real question here, that it ain't show friends, it's show business. And here's a movie that he wrote that had this precipitous drop in the second weekend. And I think that for whatever reason, that movie, Quantum Mania, is ill-conceived on a number of different levels, but I won't get into why. But it's just now that he's written this movie, is he going to still get to write the next Avengers film? Did he already have that locked in? And I bear him no ill will. I don't know him, and I've seen him speak, and he seems to be a very nice guy. But the fact of the matter is he the best person to steward one of the most successful, the Avengers, within the MCU, the Avengers movies are incredibly successful. Endgame being, it was at one point the biggest grossing movie ever until Avatar took its title back. So the question is, what do you do now? I mean, what does Jeff Loveness do? His first movie that he wrote was almost a $200 million movie, and it didn't perform. So where is he at? And does Marvel continue to retain him to write their Avengers movie? And if so, why?
That's a very good question, because it all goes back into, like, when I was starting out, if you had a flop of that magnitude, everyone would be very apprehensive to work with you ever again.
Yeah.
And that was fair, and it was justified. And if you had the cojones to admit that and be like, yeah, I screwed up, but I've learned from that, and work your way back up doing smaller projects and whatnot, you would gain a great deal of respect within the industry for that, because you have the never give up mentality, which is really well regarded. And then the other one too is proving your value by committing to the work and not repeating the same mistakes. And not only that, but there's another writer who's in the same type of realm, which is Dave Callahan. And in a very short time, he did the sequel to Zombieland. He did Mortal Kombat 2020, the 2021 one. He did Wonder Woman 84, and he did Shang-Chi. And all of those movies were quite poorly received, not as well as they could have been. Even though I saw a great deal of potential in Shang-Chi, I felt that it needed maybe 2 or 3 more rewrites,
right,
to really get it in its best part, because I thought the subplot of the father wanting to reconnect with his wife who he had lost, I thought that was very compelling and good for good story too.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, check out the full episode right here.